3.
We'll do it live.
Now we're live! Erin Kennedy. The general craziness of it, the impact on your life.
We have gone through so many stories and we said, you know what? This should not be kept to the two of us.
Say hi to my people, Erin. What are you doing? Just social mediaing myself. A little Instagram story.
You know, God love you. I love you for many, many reasons. But whenever I text you, you usually text right back. And I know that I am not as good about it because, yes, you generally have your phone in hand.
And my kids will actually mention that quite a bit. And I think it's a flaw at this point. I really feel uncomfortable if I don't have my phone. And I don't want to be that person, but I think that I like to be able to get in touch with people if I want to, but I also am so used to social media that it's like, I gotta check it. I gotta, make a story about it or whatever it may be. And it just gets like so part of your life. It's like attached to my hand. I feel bad about it.
We can talk about the psychology of that, right? Because you sound a little bit like an addict.
I probably am.
Probably and true. We're going to talk about, social media and TV news because as our careers took shape over decades, it changed quite a bit while we were there, right? I mean, YouTube wasn't even around, Megan, when we were starting.
No, when we were starting, it was not. And I can remember I was working, I was like on my third job when Facebook became something that was a good idea to have for work. And even then I was kind of a little bit ahead of the curve for having it for work and, talking about work stuff and having, a media account that wasn't my personal account. So I feel like we've seen a huge shift. I mean, the world has seen a huge course of our time in TV. It was all over the place for everything from we don't want you to be on social media. It's not something the company is behind or whatever to you have to do this. Like it's just kind of crazy. The differences that I think we saw.
Well, and let's talk about this. When I was hired, this is part of the industry. I am not singling anybody out. However, when I was hired at CBS Chicago, they said, you have to change your Twitter handle to include CBS2 and it has to be your work email, right? Because they want, and many other companies want ownership of your socials. And I know that was a really difficult moment for people because you, Megan Glaros, have built your own brand equity.
Right.
Those are people who follow you for you, not because you are talking about the weather generally, although you do that as well. And then, everybody kind of wants a piece of the pie.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting how when we were asked to do that, but then I started a new account because I still felt like my personal one was my personal one. I mean, I was talking about more than just work. So it didn't feel the same. So, I mean, and eventually that all went away and it just migrated back to your accounts and you just go for it. But I think there was a period of time, and it's probably still happening, where it's like, okay, what part does social media actually play in news? Where should it fit in? How could it fit in? And then there are people like Moshe Wanunu, who was the EP of CBS Evening News. And then, he stopped working in the business per se, but started picking up with Instagram. And he has grown his following to something like 250,000 people.
Follow him, by the way.
He's got a podcast. I mean, he's absolutely a force to be reckoned with. But why? He managed to figure out a way that people are going to consume news. And he's doing a brilliant job. Like, if I'm honest, that's where I get my news now. So there's 100% a place. It's just, you have to figure out how to do it right, I think.
Right. Well, and different places have different requirements. I always bristled when we were required to repost certain stories that had been like blown up for investigative reports. And while they may be very important, which they always were, to me, it is not my brand to be sharing inmate abuse, right?
That's sort of something that I always bristled at too, because my brand on social media. Just me. It was my family. It was my experiences. It was my work. It was my whatever it may be. But it was not, I was not using it as things because I'm like, people know this is not what I really want to be posting right now.
You had a big freeze there, so I'm hoping that didn't.
Guys, we're having the freeziest freezy day right here. We do not know
Freezies
why.
remind me of my kids, who still aren't in school, by the way.
They're not?
No.
Mine have been gone for like 3 weeks.
September 6th. So.
Oh my God.
Now how about this? Like the social media challenges for big events or telethons or this or that, where it was, you were actually divided up into teams. Were you on a team as Weather or were you not?
No, I don't think I was because I don't know what you're talking about.
So the newsroom then was divided up into teams, and it would be like, all right, whoever can generate the most engagement, retweets, shares, comments on these posts, then you would get to win lunch with the news director.
I'd be like, just kidding. I don't want to play.
So that was always funny. And I know I did a couple tongue in cheek where I was just like, hey friends, please comment on this, like, retweet or engage just so I can win this social media contest. And then I would get like a lot of engagement, more so than actually if I were following the rules. But that was just because I was being perverse, because it's the same thing where, I don't know, I guess maybe anytime you're being asked to do something, of course it's strange, but then, I mean, Megan, we can talk about this for hours, but when I first became a journalist, and again, I say journalist with a capital J, my better self, that's who I think I was. And then all of a sudden it incorporated social media, and then it incorporated promoting your stories on social media. And then it was actually like almost 80% of your job to like take a photo when you arrive at the scene, to tease it, take, separate interviews that are only on social media, make sure then that you release the raw, make sure that you go back and do this. And by the way, then you should also retweet your other 5 coworkers, and, and it's a lot.
And if you follow the playbook of everything that stations are asking you to do, it is not interesting.
Now, why do you say that?
Okay. If it's basically just one big giant retweet, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
You as Megan Civilian.
Me as Megan Civilian. Yeah, exactly. Like, now, if you're out on the scene and you're posting like behind the scenes stuff, or you're live and it's a really crazy event that's happening, then I'm fascinated, because it is something that you are doing that only you can do. If you're just retweeting stuff, I can go to the source of whatever it is that you're retweeting. Like, I feel like it's not, I don't ever care when I see a retweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it really was almost a disconnect between the social media team and the on-air talent. Again, we didn't come up with that word. That is just the word, on-air talent. Yeah. I forget where I was going with it, but I feel like, of course, you and I know that when we did do posts where it was more like, when you kicked your shoe at me.
Those were the fun ones.
That does well, right?
Right. We just had Jenny Milkowski on.
Yeah.
And she is a perfect example of someone who will post the moments that the station probably initially wouldn't celebrate. But guess what's popular on social media? The stuff you do that's funny, the stuff you do that's crazy, the stuff you do that people don't see behind the scenes, like when you get home, when you do that kind of stuff. Right. And so I actually went through, I feel like it was a little bit, and I still am, if I'm totally honest, kind of like a little like weird, who am I moment of like, okay, I used to post stuff about going into work, get my makeup done, maybe a tiny weather, very little. And then like, as it framed around what was my life at that moment. But then when that wasn't my life anymore, I was partly like, are people going to think this is interesting? Like, are people going to care? It's you in a different, like, who do I want to be on social media now? And if I was one thing for so long, how do I recreate myself? And it's still interesting.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's a weird trippy thing that was kind of associated with when we were not doing our old job anymore.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the reason we wanted to talk about this was for a couple reasons. number one, I think it's very interesting to learn what is required of on-air people in regards to social media, which essentially is another full-time job.
Yeah, now it is.
But also because, well, I mean, you mentioned Jenny Milkowski, who is a
Yeah.
social media star, and like that is her. You are not seeing like a social media Jenny Milkowski versus like real. It's the same person. And then you and I, who really do fall on opposite ends of the spectrum with
Yeah.
it. I
You hate it.
Yeah, well, we try not to use that word in my house.
I'm in my house.
There you go. I did have, it was after I started having kids, and I had this moment where it was like, I still feel that like social media is almost a giant social experiment. And I was concerned that 20 years from now, Elliot would say, why did you, I know what picture you're thinking of, Megan, that never went public. That's an inside joke. That never went out though. Of my chunky little baby, that
Yeah.
20 years from now, I don't want him to be like, Mom, that wasn't fair. I didn't give you my permission when I was 8 months old for that photo,
Yeah, I get it. But like, I mean, it still is all in good fun and out of love and stuff. Like, I'm not going to post, I'm never going to post, and you never would have either. You're not going to post something that's going to make your child up. You know what I mean? There are people who do that, though, I think. I've seen it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I have some really funny videos that I've posted of my children. They are amusing. Probably in their teenage years, they won't think it's funny. And then as they go into adults, they'll be like, "Aw, that was so cute,
funny."
right?"
But don't you think that there are a lot of on-air people? I know you worked with a woman in Miami, right? Who really cultivate that social media fame and do certain photo shoots that are going to generate a lot of engagement, right? Because that's part of the algorithm of whether or not you're going to keep your job is how much social engagement you have. And if that's what I want to do, I would just take pictures of my feet all day.
Well,
because that would do well.
Yeah. And you don't hear, that's crazy, but it's true. But I will tell you that I remember my agent at some point telling me, okay, like your social media following's pretty good. You could be a little higher here. Stations are really looking at that now. What does that say? That says we want to try to latch on to somebody who's really done some good stuff with social media. We know they're going to be a good steward. They do when they get here, whatever it is, whatever their motives are. I mean, it's probably different for each station, but like they want those people whose social media presence is really high. And at some points in the process, it was easy to do that. Let me give you an example. Like Twitter, right? Like you get into a certain rhythm with it and it was pretty new and you're following. You try to start now and build something from nothing, and it's not as easy because it's so saturated. And I think that kind of thing plays a part in it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like how do you get to somewhere from?
Yeah. I had one news director friend who said that he wouldn't even look at hiring somebody whose Twitter clout score wasn't like over 75.
I don't even know what that is, but
I know it starts, I think it's KLOUT, and it used to be a thing back when Twitter was a thing.
Right? Elon Musk.
But now, one other thing that I wanted to talk about was something that Jenny brought up in our last episode, because again, I feel like this warrants a deeper dive. Share Rocket. So newsrooms will now often have like huge monitors in the newsroom where each news person's social profile is up, and it's like, here's everybody on Twitter, here's everybody on Facebook. And you are either green arrow going up or red arrow going down, depending on your engagement and stuff. And I mean, and they're big monitors in the newsroom so that everybody knows if you're up or down.
Well, but think of the stress of that though, because if that's a big part of your job now, right? And you don't really particularly love it. And if you don't love it, you're not going to do it well because you have to really be in it. And that's, I think, part of it too. Like if you're not really invested in sharing whatever it is, people can see through that. Right. So now you're stressed, you're exhausted, you're on a crazy shift. You've already worked a ton. And now you got to go try to figure out a way to get yourself out of the red arrow down and into the green arrow up. That's a lot.
Take a picture of your feet.
That'll always do it. But I mean,
do it.
Like you said, though, we are on totally different ends of the spectrum. Like you just don't really love it. I totally embraced it. I now live in a place, like I said, where I'm not sure what about me people find interesting now. Like that sounds so messed up, but it's like, okay, now what you like, you probably wouldn't think me sitting at this desk is super interesting, but if I talk about the kids, I know people like that.
Yeah.
I know if I want to get a big post, like just post a picture where you look cute and then that'll, I mean, it's so funny. Like, you know what to do, but
Right.
yeah, it's
So
interesting.
the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because again, I think this is you and me on different ends of the spectrum, and I've mentioned this before, you do read comments when you're going through social media, and those mean comments always stay with me, which
I don't care.
which is a huge motivator as to why I choose not to be as active on social media. And there was one, again, back on Twitter, when Twitter live streaming, I think it was Periscope, maybe it was named
Yeah,
something
I
else
remember
now.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I took a quick, cute little video of Elliot when he was super young and he was learning, how to say the word banana. And I'll tell you this, Elliot's really bright, right?
He's brilliant. Yeah.
Very bright. But of course he wasn't getting it right. And like, there were some people saying like, what a dumb little kid, and I was like, and it wasn't like and so that was a moment where I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, right. Like, I don't need this for him because
Right.
first
Why
of all,
am I
he was
opening
probably
myself up
already
for
reading novels, literally.
But so that was
child
a
was
moment where
brilliant.
I was like, I really took a critical step back and I was like, I don't need to open myself up to any meanness, but everything that you post still opens yourself up to it.
That's true. So that then put that little barrier between you and being super successful on Instagram, Twitter. You then decided to close down that wall that people want to bust through. The way to have like a super popular account is to be something that people are fascinated watching, which is going to be your personal life most of the time, right? That's going to be what's going to be a clickable thing. So then that put you in that frame of being like, I'm just doing this because I have to. Because you didn't want to, and you shouldn't have to, but you did have to.
Well, and that was when I said, okay, well, I will do this, but I'm going to not really post about my family that much. It will be few and far between when it's anything that's about me or my husband. I don't even know if I think there's like 2 pictures of Matt out there.
I don't post a lot about Lance either because he's just not really. He doesn't.
Does he care? Does he have an opinion? I mean, I know that Matt would not be okay with me putting the kids up.
Sorry. No, Lance doesn't really care. He just wants to, like, if I'm going to post a picture though, he wants to make sure he thinks he looks good. Aside from that, it's pretty okay. I don't know. I mean, but like, I was on my moments where I looked like a fool too. Like, do you have the picture that Lana drew of me, Erin?
Yes, I do.
So let me first give you a little background. Let me set the story. Okay.
Wait, what's going on here, Megan?
This was Lana's kindergarten photograph of Mommy. Now, this is at Mother's Day, where each front of the room and presented their lovely, beautiful imagery of their mom. Moms are all sitting in the room. I'm exhausted. Okay. I haven't gotten my hair done in forevs because I was probably prioritizing a nap. And then Lana walks up to the front of the room and literally this is her picture of me. And I was like, oh God, I think I need my roots done. So I'll like, and it was like, she holds it up and it's like, unfortunately, super accurate of me. All the moms are laughing at me and I couldn't, but that's the difference, Erin. Like, I couldn't wait to share this because I was like, okay, this is funny. Like, this is some good stuff right here.
Well, it is. It is hilarious.
But I don't understand why she didn't color my lips in.
Oh my goodness, though. But your lips, man, those are some beautiful lips.
Very voluminous. And I'm looking
very
down
voluminous. And your eyelashes, I think you look very pretty.
Yeah, but what you may or may not know about my is that she got a lot of mileage out of that in many ways, like at that school Mother's Day thing. Erin just went away. There, you're back now. She got a lot of mileage out of that. So now every picture she draws of me still, and now she's 12 and in 7th grade, I still have that. And like, I just got my roots did. They're not bad right now, but like literally I'm like, oh.
It's cute. It's your moment. It's your moment.
Yeah.
The other thing that we wanted to talk about was Spider-Man, Tom Holland's recent announcement that he was going to be taking a break from social media because he felt like it was not good for him emotionally. So let's just listen in on that really quick.
I have taken a break from social media for my mental health because I find Instagram and Twitter to be overstimulating, to be overwhelming. I get caught up and I spiral when I read things about me online. And ultimately, it's very detrimental to my mental state. So I decided to take a step back and delete the app. On this very, very brief return to Instagram.
So that, I mean, I get that. I can't imagine what it's like when you're as famous as he is. First of all, did you even know he was British?
I did not know he was
Yep.
British. I literally had no clue. Now I know. Clearly, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get it. And you were talking about too, Justin Bieber recently sharing his facial paralysis.
Yes. And it was kind of a creepy video because like this eye wasn't blinking and this side of his mouth wasn't working. And it's like, wow, like that. I mean, I understand why he shared it because then people were going to give him sympathy about it and understand why he was not doing his tour, not doing his whatever it may be. It's just, I think you really sometimes have to take a step back and ask yourself if it's really adding to your life or not. Is this making my life better? And I have, because we have talked about the fact that I am like on my phone too much. And I admit it, I am one of those people where I'm like, oh, I need to check my Instagram. Like, oh, I need to check it. I mean, do I need to check it? No, like no, the world is still going on regardless of whether or not I check my Instagram. But it's like, it's not always making my life better. And like, I should be able to sit in silence with myself and not be picking up my Instagram, but I don't. I pick it up, I look at it, I'm gonna switch to Facebook, then I don't really care about Twitter anymore. But I need to like chill with it. But then I'm in my mind, I'm like, but what did I miss? Nothing that I
Now,
can
and
pick up and go
how
back.
many people did you work with along the way who really were kind of the social media bad words, where what gets the clicks, you do it? I mean, there's a lot of them. And now I want to make this clear. That doesn't take away from the fact that they could be very good reporters and journalists. But I always was like, and I got to say, maybe I'm super old now, Megan, but I mean, I still like, I still don't think I would have ever been comfortable like taking a picture of myself in a bathing suit to put on social media if my job is to be on TV.
I never did that. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, even if I thought I was looking so good, I still
As you
probably
were.
wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. And it may have been in part the time that we started in the business because
Yeah.
initially it was represent yourself well, represent the station well. You're going to be judged by what you're posting on social media. Okay. But what happened from then to now is that it's no longer important to represent yourself well, like you're, representing the station. It's like more important how many clicks you're getting. So that's where it changed. And I think we didn't necessarily change with it for sure. I mean, I think that was a part of it because
And
people
then
who came up in it later are like, they're getting the messaging from stations and from agents and from whatever, whereas like as much as you can. Well, they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I wonder what the conversion rate really is for somebody who finds you likable and lovely on a social media channel and then ever turns on the TV.
Very little, I'm going to guess.
I think there are going to be some consultants who probably tell you otherwise, but I can't tell you one person.
No. Now, there are people that I follow on social media who I wish had a show.
Yeah.
But that's different because what show to be is not that person reading the news. It's that person showing me more of their life in longer form, right? So it doesn't translate to me. It's like, okay, like if you're like, okay, Moshe, right? Moshe, perfect example. We talked about Moshe. He's got the best Instagram news account. Now, if Moshe had a news show, I would watch that all day long. I listen to his podcast. I love it because I love the way he's like curating the news.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that I'm going to look at somebody and think that their social personal life and like they're super cute and whatever, and then want to care what they're doing on the news. Like, because it doesn't,
Right.
it's not the same
Not the
thing.
same person.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, you look super hot in a bikini. Totally want to hear you read about Ukraine. No, that's not the same thing.
Right.
You know? I don't know.
I do know.
Hold on,
This is-
stop. What is your favorite Instagram account? Do you even have one? And I know mine changes all the time, but do you have one?
One that was recommended recently, and I know that you follow it too. What is it? The CrossFit WOD of the day one. What's it called?
I don't
WOD.
know.
Make WODs great again.
I don't know that account.
Yes, you do, because I saw you retweeted on somewhere.
Oh, I must have just saw it from somebody who I
Yeah,
follow.
make WODs great again. So you have to kind of be in the CrossFit community to like it, but it does make me giggle.
Okay, you like that one? I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked about, I love, where I get my news. I've discussed that 50 times today because I just feel like he's done such a beautiful job of doing what the stations are trying to do.
Well,
but
spell it
haven't.
too, though, Megan. Spell his handle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you want to follow, I'm telling you, I don't watch the news anymore. I literally just get it from him. So it's Mosheh at Mosh. You pronounce it Mosh, but Mosheh. And he's amazing. And I think what he's doing is really cool, but he started doing it like pure, Instagram, and then it has evolved into like a podcast and everything else. Yeah. So this is one of my absolute favorite Instagram accounts. While you are on there, Erin, type in my other fave, please, which is totally differently like not normal, but it's Ballerina Farms.
Ballerina?
Yes. And this is an example. Ballerina Farms, I think. Yeah. So this is an example of an account that is what I would love to see, like an actual show about, but I would never want to see them reading the news. Okay.
Why can't it's not coming up? Ballerina Farms?
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, that
live TV, folks.
Going live TV. Yeah, exactly. We would have like peed our pants if this was happening live on the news. But okay, so it's an account of this woman and this guy. They own a farm. It's like a cattle farm outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. They have 7 children. They like make their own bread. They do all this stuff themselves. And I'm like, oh my God, the boys are like roping cattle. And now, why is it fascinating to me? They're not reading the news to me. I don't want them to read the news. I am like, wow, this is a peek inside a life I never had and never will and probably don't want to, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, isn't that neat? Yeah, I'll have to follow them. To be honest, I think I probably only follow like 12 accounts on Instagram. Well, and to be honest, and when I log in, Megan, it's always like, Megan Claros mentioned you in their story. And then I go, okay, it's like, this is gone.
That story is gone 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Last
that
time
was
you logged
deleted
in.
5 days ago. I'm like, oh, missed it again.
Yeah. That's the major difference in us. And it's so funny. It's like now, I mean, I don't know now. It's such a business now too. Like back when it first started, it was like you really could just be an interesting person and just random pictures of your life. And that was enough. And it doesn't always feel like it's enough now. It's like, oh, your lighting's good. Oh, you're not using your DSLR camera. You're not, oh my God, she didn't edit that TikTok right. Like, it's work. It takes serious effort.
That in my life. And now I don't have to.
Yeah.
Now I have a choice. Whereas in TV news, you do not have a choice. Now, remember as well, when they were making producers, executive producers, writers, everybody, I'm not frozen. It's on your end.
It's also live TV, peoples. Erin, you're going to come back in a second. I feel like it's definitely your connection.
I'm here, Megan. I think it's you.
Okay, which one of us is it? We're going to find out when this actually airs because like who's disappearing and who's not? Because to me, it's totally you. We do. Erin, touch my hand. Wait, go at. Oh, I was like, we're together again.
Oh my gosh, this feels really strange right now. Anywho, yes, but it used to be.
By the way, that's totally the piece I'm gonna clip out and use a little like, what are they doing today?
And I wonder if anybody will watch.
We're losing our minds. By the way, that's what's happening.
What?
Carry on.
When they required every single person in the newsroom to have a social media account.
Yeah. And like, honestly, some of the people like way older than us were like, oh, what?
Well, but also way
who?
older than us and not even on air. And I'm not, that's not a dig as I'm saying it. I'm just saying they were like, why would I have a profile when people don't even know who I am? And,
Ugh.
you know,
It was like, who's going to follow? Who cares? Also, FYI, at most stations, you follow one, you basically follow them all if that's the mandate, because you're just going to get the same retweet 57 times from
That's
the
true.
same person. And that is where I drew the line. I was like, okay, so if you really like our show, you've now gotten the same post from all of us, and then the same other post from all of us, and the same other post from all of us. It's like,
but then you get lunch with the news director.
I'm like coughing because I just don't want. Yeah.
All right. I think we need to call it a day, my friend.
You do, but also I like my new hair color.
You look beautiful, as always. Tell
Thanks.
Lana she needs to update her caricature of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna need an edit because I don't have roots
Yeah.
for another couple weeks.
We'll get her on next time. All right. Bye, everybody. Oh, please like and subscribe. I always forget to say that. Turn on notifications. I learned how to say that.
Turn on notifications, like and subscribe, share, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. All right. All right. Bye, Megan. Bye, everybody.
Bye.